Hi everybody, Coach Dave here. Welcome to another installment of Technique Tuesday. And today we're looking at a fundamental movement pattern that is very, very important for a lot of exercises that we do perform here at the gym, but some stuff that you might be performing at home as well in your current exercise routine. And also a very good exercise and movement position which we should all recognize and understand, and we should be able to adopt this position just purely for our posture as well. So we're looking at the hip hinge and how we perform exercises where we are bent over or leaning forward, also known as hinging at the hips through our hip joint here. So if we imagine a pole running straight through our hip joint, we are hinging or acting as an axis of rotation or working through our hips so that we are performing a forward lean, and then our hips will go back, and then we can start to travel down and descend into a movement where we may pick something up off the ground, i.e. a deadlift, or we are swinging something like a kettlebell swing, or we are doing something where we hold that position isometrically, where we hold still, and we perform barbell bent over rows, dumbbell bent over rows, even kettlebells, and so on. So this movement is actually a very, very important movement to understand and to be able to position yourself properly and learn how to not only take that position and adopt it in your lower back and your thoracic, being your chest, your upper back, how we hold our spine in a neutral position, how it's naturally meant to be, and then also from that supporting and bracing with our core. Now, one fun fact that a lot of people don't realize, to adopt the hip hinge position and to be able to do that safely, where we hinge at our hips and then we start coming down into that position where we may pick something up off the ground, we do require a bit of hamstring strength, glute strength, and definitely core strength to make sure that we are performing that movement correctly and safely, so that we are not placing more stress on our lower back. So when performing exercises where we are in this hip hinge position, we are placing stress into our lower back muscles, which will also strengthen them. So it is a good movement to help strengthen what we call the lower back erector muscles that run down the side of your spine. Okay, so we are training and developing those muscles to become stronger, to handle more work, to have a little bit more endurance behind them as well, and also developing them. So make sure that we are incorporating these movements in the safest possible way to help develop those areas and promote things like mobility and flexibility also through your hamstrings, through your hip joint, so that we are producing these movements optimally, especially if we're going to add load. So today, I'll make sure I cover techniques on how to do the hip hinge correctly, looking at posture and positioning of the body, talking you through some technique cues that you should think about when trying to adopt the hip hinge. One thing I've seen over the years, coaching people and taking people through exercise programs and exercises specifically that require this posture, is that body awareness is a big thing, understanding how their body should sit. So understanding that we do not want to round our body and have a rounded lower back. So here's a difference in terminology with myself and maybe some other people that you've come across. We do not want to round our lower back out by making this position here, where we place more stress onto the lumbar spine, that lower part of the lower back here. So we don't want to create that excessive movement where we are rounding and extending. We want to be able to maintain that neutral curve, that nice S curve into our lower back. And we hold that position there and we brace through our core so that we keep that nice and safe. And we're going to talk about bracing techniques as well, especially during loaded lifts like the deadlift and even the squat, and performing common exercises that we would do here potentially in our classes at the gym, like kettlebell swings and bent over rows. So stay with me guys as I take you through a few more cues on how to perform the hip hinge correctly.
When performing hip hinge movements, it is crucial that we maintain neutral spine, keeping the back nice and straight, as seen in this diagram here. As we go into flexion, bending at the hips, a rounded lower back places more stress through the lumbar vertebrae as we extend our body back to an upright position. Be sure to sit back with your hips, keep your chest out and your shoulders back and down. Here you can see the hip hinge performed in a deadlift manner with a broomstick or barbell in the hands. We are lifting the weight up by bending forward. In this drill, we place a broomstick on our back, going from the lumbar to thoracic vertebrae, and ensuring that the broomstick stays in contact with your hips and upper back for that nice straight neutral spine position. Next is the good morning base hip hinge, where we load from the shoulders down. In this position, we are hinging at the hips with load on our back. Now we look at the bent over isometric hold into a barbell, dumbbell, or kettlebell row. Holding this position is very important for this movement. Next is a deadlift variation with kettlebell, known as the Romanian or stiff leg deadlift. Now we look at the kettlebell swing, hip hinging in a dynamic fashion. Here we can see a variation of the Romanian deadlift using dumbbells, utilizing a bench or box behind you to cue your hip hinge and maintain knee position is a good idea.
So to finish off, guys, we're talking about bracing our midsection and what we call our core, incorporating our abdominals here into our obliques, which run down the side of our body, as well as all the way through to our lower back, our erectors, to help support what is our spine and keep it safe while we perform the hip hinge. So here's some cues that I really recommend that you focus on when bracing and doing loaded movements, like using barbells and kettlebells and performing the hip hinge. So first of all, we want to make sure we take that big breath of air in and perform what we call the Valsalva, which is basically bracing your midsection, using that air, that big breath that you draw in, brace your core by flexing your abs and holding your breath. So holding your breath is very important. So as we go down into the movement, we take that big breath in, we brace here like someone's going to come and punch us in the stomach or give us a whack in the stomach. We brace there, we push out through our obliques, through our abdominals in the front as well as the sides, and also bracing through into our lower back to help maintain that arch. And then that nice neutral position, we hold our breath on the way down, and then we breathe out as we return to the top. So again, breathing in first, flexing our core, bracing down, bringing our rib cage down so that we lock into here, and then we are coming down into that hip hinge, and breathing out as we come up. So try that next time you're doing hip hinge based movements, guys, like deadlifting, holding a position for bent over rows, kettlebell swings, anything where we're required to recruit the muscles of the lower back, the core, the glutes, hamstrings, to help us perform that hip hinge movement. I hope this video has helped, guys. This is one of a few videos that we'll do in multiple segments where we look at first today the hip hinge, and then we progress that to deadlifting, then we progress it to bent over rows, then swings with kettlebells, and also in the future we'll progress into our squat based movements. So definitely let me know if there's any other movements that you'd like me to cover, guys, but keep an eye out for these videos coming up in the next few weeks to progress on to things like our deadlifts, rows, and also movements like good mornings and swings. Thanks, guys.